First, let me also thank President George Sampaio for convening this groundbreaking meeting. I remember when we first met, when you were appointed in this function, in your capacity as Special Envoy, that we agreed that we will work together to finally tear down the walls between the AIDS arena and the TB arena. And therefore, this is a great day as far as I'm concerned. I remember that I think it's literally 23 years ago that I published my first article on HIV and TB. I'm also old, Margaret, but not as, as you. I look much older than you. And where we drew attention to the fact that there is so much co-infection. And it illustrates that how long it can take between the information that becomes available and actual action on the ground. And this is what we are talking about. I think that since the theme of this panel is supposed to be harmonization and opportunities for the future, we say that the TB/AIDS situation clearly shows that good coordination is not just a bureaucratic thing. That good coordination can save lives, and that lack of coordination can kill people. And that's what it's all about. And we've seen that also for AIDS itself, but we see that also for AIDS and TB. And that's why in AIDS we've worked so hard on the 3 ones. And let me mention a few levels of that. One, the global and institutional level. We've talked a lot about that. I think that the fact that the Global Fund is dealing with AIDS, TB and malaria certainly has helped a lot. Dr. Nafi Sadiq mentioned about the debate that we had in our board of UNAIDS in Chiang Mai only a few months ago. And the fact also that the Stop TB partnership is a partnership, I think is really very important, because it is through a coalition, through a partnership, that one can also generate that large coalition that is necessary. And I think there we have made some real good progress when I compare today with when the time that UNAIDS was created. Secondly, national programs, I think it's very unequal. Some have combined, like in Rwanda, as we heard. Others have not. And I don't think that that's that's important. You can have actually formally two different programs as long as they are dealing with what they should do at the national level. A normative function, coordinating, resource mobilization, monitoring, evaluation, policy, and so on, as long as they don't implement on the ground, because that's where the problems are. But I also think that in this euphoria of integrating everything, we have to also be very clear. We should combine where there's value added of combining. We should not do that where there is no value added. For example, when it comes to prevention of sexual transmission of HIV, there is not much value added of bring it all together. Because that is largely outside the health sector that it happens. That's where community mobilization is there. But when it comes to particularly the clinical care, treatment, we can really learn from each other. I think from the AIDS side, we can learn a lot from the, let's say, more disciplined, standardized approach that has been the hallmark of dealing with TB. But I think also our experience with community mobilization, with involvement of civil society, with making sure that prevention and treatment are very well integrated, that's an asset that we have come up with, I believe. At the service level, we really must strive for one service center, as Madame Kagame said and explained, and she said exactly what I wanted to say. We're dealing maybe with 2 diseases or infections, but with 1 person and 1 life. And that is true also for many other issues. When looking into the future and dealing with harmonization, we need obviously to talk about research. And again, that has been addressed. I won't repeat it, but it is going to be crucial that we accelerate research, particularly on tools for diagnosing and treating TB. To conclude, I would say that the good news is that the tide is turning into the right direction. maybe because of a combination of good things and bad things. The bad thing being the emergence of basically untreatable TB. As Margaret Chan said, you know, we're going back to the area when there was no treatment. I would say the work of Stop TB. This is the result, this kind of meeting, of years and years of hard work. We're one step forward, two steps backwards. But now here we are, President Sampaio's work. The AIDS movement, I believe, increasing funding for AIDS has resulted in the biggest boost of funding for TB in history, has resulted also in the biggest boost for funding for malaria in history. And that's great. That's, you know, sometimes we hear more about collateral damage, but there has been a lot of collateral benefits of this AIDS movement. And the fact, as we heard from civil society, I think, which is also great, that teaming up of the AIDS movement and the tuberculosis movement and others. But AIDS shows us also that complacency is always around the corner. With recent claims that the epidemic is over, that there's no heterosexual epidemic when 50% of women, of people with HIV are women in the world, or claims that all we need to do is strengthen health services. These are very dangerous myths that will undermine our collective response. And it shows that we must always be vigilant, and we must stick to what I feel is fundamental. And that is that we have to make sure that we combine sound science, strong programs, and political leadership. And we heard a clear program from civil society. Today for AIDS and for TB, I think the stars are getting aligned. And the best guarantee for continuing results is to stick to this combination of the various elements that make a good program. So you have my full commitment to make this work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.